Hello all, this is John from EastCoastArmory.com, and I'm here today with a model showcase video for this 1/16 scale radio-controlled M26 Pershing. Unlike my other model showcase videos that involve smaller scale vehicles, typically those vehicles are built for commission for private collectors. This model here belongs to myself and it is intended for my own personal collection. Even though this model that you see here is built for my own private collection, I do take on commission builds, and I can build a model in both from 1/35 scale all the way up to 1/6 scale with the same specs that you see here. For availability and pricing information, that information will be best by contacting me through the EastCoastArmory.com website, through the email info@EastCoastArmory.com. The model that you see here started off as a Tamiya 1/16 scale M26 Pershing. I've had this model in my stash since 2003 when the kits first came out. The model itself stayed in an unassembled state for approximately 10 years, only periodically being taken out of the stash, namely when I was working on my 1/6 scale M26 Pershing. I used the unassembled kit of this model to aid me during the construction of that project. After that, this tank sat dormant once again and was recently grabbed up and started when I was commissioned to build another 1/16 scale M26 Pershing for private commission. Since I was working on that model, I decided to build two M26s at the same time. That M26 was finished and can be seen on my video listings as well as on my Facebook page. Unlike the other M26 Pershing build that I did for private commission, that vehicle received a plethora of aftermarket accessories and detail component upgrades. This model in comparison is more of a modest build and is primarily built out of the box. However, some small detail modifications were made, and we will be going over those in this video. Before I get into the detail upgrades and the model's features, we'll do a quick walk around the model. The first mod we're going to go over are the two little canisters that we see on either side here of the headlight brush guard. On American tanks, including Shermans as well as the Pershing, there would be a small little canister that would be welded to the brush guard. The purpose of this canister would be there would be a little plunger or a little metal rod that would be inserted into this tube when the headlight would be fixed to the vehicle. When the headlight would be removed for storage or for transit use via rail, the headlight would be stowed on the interior portion of the vehicle. Because the bulb would be removed, there would be a hole left in the mount. And to prevent water or any other type of obstructions from getting into that hole, the little plunger would be pulled out of the storage tube here, and inserted into the hole. Typically, we see a little retaining chain that connects the plunger to the rod. The tubes themselves were a simple addition and were simply cut from a thin piece of aluminum tube and mounted directly to the kit brush guards. Another quick modification that was made that does help the look of the vehicle, and is one that you can do at home, is drilling out the small hole here on the two engine removal struts. On the T26E3, which is the type of version that is represented here, on this side of the turret would be two mounts. The way the mounts function was that when the turret would be turned to this portion over here, the engine grates would be removed and opened up, and you could be able to hook up a hoist that would help remove the engine out of the engine compartment. This system here was dropped on later versions of the M26 Pershing, namely in the M26A1. To add the two little holes was a simple addition and are not found on the Tamiya vehicle, on the kit. To add the holes, you simply just take a drill bit and just drill right through both of them in their centers. Adding the holes improves the look of the model with very little effort. Another modification that was made to the model was on the model's track jacks. On the real M26 Pershing, they stowed the ratcheting track jack on the external portion of the turret. There's one on either side. On the right-hand side, it would be right behind the commander's copula. And on the left-hand side, it is stowed right adjacent next to the spare track links. The kit jack is very nicely done. However, one quick mod to really help the look is the addition of a threaded shaft that we see here. The purpose of this tool is that you would stick a handle into this portion here and ratchet the mechanism back, which would be this piece here. The threaded shaft would turn and this piece would move, it would slide along this top portion here of the jack. The purpose of this is when joining the two track links together, you would put one tooth here and the other tooth there, and ratcheting it together squeezes the gap in between the two track links, thus allowing you to place the end cap, thus joining the track links together. As for the threaded rod itself, it was a simple addition in that Tamiya actually has mounts for threaded shaft to be fitted. They probably intended to include one with the kit, but probably to cut corners or to save on costs, it was omitted. For the actual threaded rod itself, I used a long machine screw, which is found in a pack of machines of assorted sizes that you find in Radio Shacks. A threaded shaft was added to each of the jacks on both sides of the turret. One of the last modifications made to the tank's turret involved the MP48 spring antenna base here. The MP48 that's supplied by the kit is very nicely done in that it comes in three pieces. You have the top portion here with the insulator, the bottom stem, and a real metal spring. Now on the Tamiya kit, they intended you to have the model's aerial antenna base for the radio emerge from this socket here. Now there's no detail element to it, it's just a slit that's molded into the turret in which you would bolt the metal antenna that's kit supplied to the interior, and you'd have a big ugly antenna sticking out of your turret. I didn't want to have that look on my model, so what I did was I added the cover cap to the antenna base well, which is accurate, and I modified the kit antenna to be that of the aerial base. The way I did that was very similar to how I do my 1/6 scale radio control MP48s, in that I hollowed it out very carefully because of the small size. The base was hollowed out and was soldered directly to the aerial wire that is on the model's receiver. There's a small plug, so in case I need to remove the turret, I could disconnect it from the turret or from the body and without having the piece permanently attached. The aerial itself is somewhat flexible, and that the wire that I use for the antenna is actually the kit supplied antenna, just slightly modified for the new role. By doing this, you serve both functions in that you have your extended antenna and you don't have any detail loss by having that ugly antenna that's kit supplied emerging from this spot over here. While on the subject of the MP48 spring antenna base, I have to bring this up because I've seen mistakes made by modelers in all scales, from everywhere from model shows all the way up to pictures published in magazines and on the internet. That would be the mistake of the way the MP48 antenna base is painted. Generally, everyone I always see paints the entire mast green and then goes on ahead and weathers the rest of the vehicle. That is incorrect. On the MP48 spring antenna base, the top and the rest of the mount is made out of metal. However, the center portion here where we have those three little ribs, that little ring is actually made out of ceramic. The ceramic itself is this glossy red lusty color that we have here, and for the best way to replicate that would be to use Tamiya Hull Red. In addition to the Hull Red, you could brush on a little drop of clear lacquer, gloss coat, which will give it a nice luster to it. By the simple addition of painting this little piece red really helps the look of the model and will give you an overall better look once it's painted. Progressing with the rest of the model is pretty much built out of the box. We have here the kit supplied M2HB, which is very nicely detailed. The M23 cradle is also nicely detailed and it's fully functional. One thing that's nice about the Tamiya M2 is that the feed tray actually opens up and is functional, revealing the detail of the bolt carrier underneath, as well as the belt grabbing system that we see on the inside portion of the top cover. The model is just simply painted and then weathered to really make all of the molding and details pop out. The last modification that was made to the model was the addition of a recharge jack to recharge the Model 7.2 battery. The purpose of the recharge jack is so that I don't have to always remove the turret and get access to the battery. Once the model is painted, I don't want to start removing things, because by doing that you're just asking for things to get broken. So the recharge jack is very helpful. For the recharge jack, I mounted it over here in the hull, where it's out of the way of the turret, and it's one less wire to worry about in getting your turret stuck and hitting the interrupter gear. The recharge jack itself is made that it splices off of the battery connector system that the kit has, and the piece itself easily gets fished out of the bow hull and extracted out. Now I can simply plug in my 7.2 battery charger, charge the tank, and once the tank is charged, I simply disconnect it, stuff it back into the tank, and close the hatch, and the model's ready to go. If anyone is interested in the battery splicing jack, you can contact me through the info@eastcoastarmory.com email address, and I can give you pricing and availability information on that component. Let's go ahead and take the model for a test drive. On these Tamiya M26 Pershing, all the power is controlled by one switch, and that switch is located directly underneath the bow driver's hatch. This is as per the kit, and no modifications were made to this. I simply turn the tank on, and once you turn on the radio, you'll have engine startup, like so. We'll now take the tank through some of its paces. And that concludes this model showcase video for this 1/16 scale radio-controlled M26 Pershing. If you like this video, stop by and like us on Facebook. Also, don't forget to check out eastcoastarmory.com for both smaller scale built models as well as 1/6 scale models and 1/6 scale detail components. Thank you.